Ripple co-founder Chris Larsen gets hacked for 213 million XRP, valued at $112.5 million. What's happening here? We're going to break down the details of this hack. And Tether is reporting a $2.85 billion profit for the Q4 2023 quarter. That's more profit than Goldman Sachs has earned. Crypto is growing in adoption. We're going to break this down and much more. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. If you are new here, please hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Apple, please leave a 5-star rating and a review. It supports the podcast and it doesn't cost you anything. Well, folks, today was a big day. The Fed came out and told us they are keeping rates as is. They are not raising nor are they cutting right now. And, as stated before, the markets are usually very volatile the week of any type of FOMC meeting or announcement from the Fed. So expect volatility tomorrow and Friday. I'm looking towards next week when things have settled and when the dust has settled. And as I've been talking about, I anticipate rate cuts to happen sometime this year. It could be pushed out to 2025 because there is an election year coming up, or I should say this is an election year, and Biden's going to want to make sure things look good. And the reason why I'm saying the rate cuts get pushed off, historically, we've seen that when there's rate cuts, the markets pull back. And I don't know if Biden wants that. Maybe with the influx of printed money, which they could start at any point, QE could come back at any point, they can help reduce the volatility and the level of pullback we may see for the stock market. And of course, we know Bitcoin and crypto is highly correlated to the stock market, and all of it is just correlated to global liquidity, M2 money supply, and so forth. So we are on the path to rate cuts and, of course, the money printer being turned on. That's why I'm bullish from a macro standpoint. I believe we are already in the bull market. I think we're headed into phase 2, and phase 3 will be next year. Phase 1 was last year, and we saw the markets rallied, right? Bitcoin and crypto rallied, the stock market as well. So it's going to be a multi-year bull market, as we've seen historically, and there will eventually come a bear market. So have your plan, whether you're investing in crypto or stocks. Now, something that was interesting, the Fed, when they released some notes, they made a lot of updates. And one was here, Meet Kevin reported, Fed just removed comment that the U.S. banking system is sound and resilient. Now, they didn't talk about the banking system for the most part, or Jerome didn't speak about this. And today, New York Community Bank was collapsing. Their stock was dumping. It seems like they're in trouble. Their stock went down 40% today. And this could be one of the problems that leads to the cutting of rates later this year. And look, the Fed did a great job in help mitigating the collapse of the banks in 2023, early 2023. And we saw Silicon Valley Bank and others started to collapse. But through some backdoor, behind the scenes liquidity insertion, they were able to prevent, obviously, a massive collapse of the system. It could have set off a ripple effect. And I don't know if it will be at the level of 2008, but it was certainly could have been bad, especially with high inflation and many companies and many countries as well trying to dig their way out of the post-COVID situation, right? So interesting that this took place. I think they're trying to bury this a little bit, but we'll have to wait and see. Well, folks, the big news of the day, though, was Ripple's co-founder, Chris Larsen. He's also the executive chairman. He was hacked for 213 million XRP, valued at $112.5 million. This was reported by Exec XBT, who's a sleuth on Twitter, and he shared all the wallet addresses and so forth. Now, Chris Larsen came out about a few minutes later and said, yesterday, there was an unauthorized access to a few of my personal XRP accounts, not Ripple. We were quickly able to catch the problem and notify exchanges to freeze the affected addresses. Law enforcement is already involved. This is an isolated incident, and Ripple wallets are secure. slash never were compromised. We've confirmed nearly all of the affected funds were converted out of XRP. We're working with law enforcement and have been advised that a significant portion of funds have been frozen and are pursuing the remainder aggressively. Many thanks to, he thanks some people here from Ripple for their help and so forth. So, folks, I have a lot of thoughts on this, and some of you may have seen my tweets, and I know I'm probably going to get a lot of hate, but I always keep it real with you guys. I'm not here for a religion. I'm here to make money. I certainly want to see technology adopted. And if someone does something that is not up to par, we have to call them out. I'm not here to kiss anybody's ass or anything like that. We are here to be unbiased and neutral and share the facts and talk about things as they are. Now, before I get to my tweet, I want to highlight here what Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of Ripple, said. Given some irresponsible speculation reporting, I want to reiterate that no Ripple managed wallets were compromised. Full stop. So let's get it out of the way. Ripple was not hacked. XRP was not hacked. The XRP ledger was not hacked. What was hacked was Chris Larsen's personal wallet, which he had, wow, 213 million XRP in, right? So want to make sure that's clear. Now, to my thoughts that I tweeted out, folks, and I said I would probably get a lot of hate here. I think it's time for Chris Larsen to distance himself from Ripple as much as possible. In 2022, he donated to Greenpeace to launch a campaign to lobby for the change of the Bitcoin code. At the time, I tweeted out this was a horrible move, bad optics all around, especially with the SEC lawsuit still ongoing. Now, Chris's personal XRP account has been hacked, and you can imagine the headlines that will follow. All of this is bad for Ripple equity holders and XRP holders. I have confidence in Brad Garlinghouse and David Schwartz and the vision they have for Ripple and XRP, but Chris Larsen is causing more problems with these situations. And once again, folks, I am an XRP holder. I still hold, and I'm not telling you you should invest in XRP. I'm just telling you what I hold. And many times it depends on your entry price. I got in a very low price. I bought in 2017. So just understand my perspective. I'm being very transparent. So some may say, Tony, why are you attacking the victim here? Folks, this is a billionaire. His company is a crypto company. They just bought a custodian in Medico, and he should know better. He positioned himself here to get hacked, and headlines are going to read billionaire Ripple co-founder loses XRP. Not a good look, folks. And I don't have any ill will or bad feelings towards Chris. I'm calling things out as is. And like I said, I go back to the Greenpeace situation. That was just a horrible, horrible move. You're in the midst of an SEC lawsuit, and you're a competing blockchain, and you are calling for the change of Bitcoin. And I'm telling you this because I've spoken to people in DC as well as different companies, and people were not happy about this. I spoke to many congressmen who were not happy about this. So I'm not sharing my emotions here, but it's just horrible optics there. And then you have this situation, which the damage is, I think, is pretty bad. It just puts the negativity out there, feeds FUD. And this, of course, does not do well for the price and for investors. And don't just take my word for it, folks. Here, Nick Bugales, who's a former Ripple employee, tweeted out, "This looks like a key compromise. Chris is neither the first nor, sadly, the last to have funds stolen that way. Key management and security is a huge challenge, as existing tooling isn't always up to task." Here's the important part. I am surprised that he didn't use multi-signing for a custody service. See what I'm talking about here, folks? Even a former Ripple employee can recognize what's going on here. It's not that he got his funds stolen, but that he should know better. He's a billionaire. He has access to money and resources, and he has to understand that his actions, and whether fair or unfair, affect the market and the perception and the optics. And once again, I mentioned for both Ripple equity holders and XRP holders. You may disagree with me, you may be angry at me, but this is not emotional. This is just straight up facts, business, and understanding markets. So please understand where I'm coming from. And like I said, I don't know how he plans to do things, but I think it's best that he distance himself as much as possible from Ripple, because if he's going to do stuff like this, and, going back to the Greenpeace situation, go out, it's one thing if he had donated to Greenpeace and didn't say anything, but he made it a public thing. And I'm telling you, from the people I've spoken to, that was not received well. So just understand where I'm coming from. That's my perspective, folks. Now, the other thing I want to highlight here is that Navin Gupta, who has been one of the top employees at Ripple, he's helped them build a lot of business relationships. You've often seen him at conferences speaking about Ripple and XRP, and there's tons of videos going around. He's leaving the company. He said, after 7 years at Ripple, it's time to say goodbye and embark on a new adventure. Grateful to work with Ripplers in building the internet of value. Big thank you to Chris Larsen for your vision and Brad Garlinghouse and Monica Long for leading us. So he's out. Just FYI on that. Now, quick word from our sponsor, and that is Uphold, which is a great platform where you can buy Bitcoin and all the top altcoins. Uphold has 260 plus cryptocurrencies. They're available in over 150 countries, and they have many different fiat currencies that they support. You can also trade precious metals on this platform: gold, silver, palladium, platinum. And they have a great app that's easy to use. Best of all, they are fully reserved. You can go review their transparency reports. They don't commingle or lend out your funds. I've been using this platform once again since 2018. I've interviewed the CEO, the CFO, and many representatives, so I can vouch for this platform. So if you'd like to learn more about Uphold, please visit the link in the description. Now, folks, big news from Tether. And Tether continues to improve their transparency, folks. Every quarter, they are putting out attestation reports, and this is really great. Recently at Davos, you had the CEO, Cantor Fitzgerald, endorse Tether. If you guys recall, I shared that video, and he said, look, I've reviewed their books. Everything seems to be in order. I've often said, I think years ago, when Tether first started, I don't think their books were in order. But I think they have since dot their I's, cross their T's, get their ducks in order. I think the ship is in the right direction right now. Here's what Paolo Ardiono, if I'm saying that right, tweeted out. Tether Q4 2023 attestation is out. My summary: profit for the quarter, $2.85 billion, of which approximately $1 billion in net operational profit, mainly US T-bill interest, and approximately $1.85 billion from gold and Bitcoin holdings. Total profit for 2023, $6.2 billion. He said cash and cash equivalents cover now 90% of all issued tokens, highest percentage in the last years. He says the total US T-bill exposure, direct plus indirect, is $80.3 billion. Folks, Tether is making a lot of big moves here. That's incredible profit. And here, Matt Hogan of Bitwise said, Tether made more money last quarter than Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs made $2.01 billion, Tether at $2.85 billion. That's incredible, folks. This is a major, major win. Crypto is here to stay. It's growing, it's maturing, and we are seeing the ETFs and all these financial products being launched. So I'm very bullish on this upcoming bull market cycles and future ones as well. Now, Paolo also highlighted that Bitfinex, which is also part of Tether, that there are two companies that work together. They're going to launch BFX or securities, or Bitfinex securities, excuse me. He said, super excited to see Bitfinex securities launch in El Salvador, providing a global venue for regulated tokenized assets in a Bitcoin country. El Salvador has become the center of digital finance of Central America. Incredible. They're making a lot of progress, and El Salvador is doing some great things. Now, we got news out of Thailand. Here, Thailand's SEC breaks new ground in 2024 with crypto-friendly rules. Retail investors can now invest without limits in digital tokens backed by real estate or infrastructure. Once again, we are seeing globally the move towards embracing crypto, regulations being put into place. They're embracing it. Financing is opening up. Governments are putting out white papers and much more. It's incredible what's happening. So Thai SEC regulates cryptocurrencies under the Digital Asset Businesses Decree, focusing on areas like sales, trading, and initial coin offerings, also known as ICOs. Digital asset businesses operating in Thailand are required to obtain licenses and comply with the rules set forth by the SEC as outlined in the decree. The SEC said the SEC's updated framework removes retail investors' limits for asset-backed tokens, creates new rules for custodians, and gives the agency a larger role in monitoring digital asset business. Folks, if only our SEC here in the United States could get their act together. But, crypto is not a US asset class. It is a global asset class. And game theory is playing out here, competitive global market, and other countries are passing their regulations, are putting things in place. So all of these things just make me more incredibly bullish, guys, that even if we're dealing with a clown like Gary Gensler here in the United States, the rest of the world is moving ahead. Capital will flow into the asset class. And the great thing is that these tokens, many have a finite supply, they have a hard cap. And because of the blockchain, anyone can access it and capital can come in from every fiat currency around the world. There's never been an asset class like that. Once again, with a finite supply that we can see real time on the blockchain. All right, folks, that's the news. Let me know what you think. If you haven't watched or listened to my interview with Anthony Scaramucci that was uploaded today, be sure to check it out. We had a great conversation. He just got back from Davos, so he shares a lot of insights. And if you haven't subscribed to my free email newsletter, please do. The link will be in the description. It's 100% free. Also, folks, please follow me on TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter X. It supports the podcast. It doesn't take $1 out of your pocket. It's all free. Please support if you can. And thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I'll talk to you all later.